Hi guys, in this video I'm going to be going through some of the practice problems that are on that second in Google Classroom. It's the document from Monday that said practice problems, and if you were in class, this is what I gave out that you were working on at the end of class. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and find my midline by finding the halfway point . And it looks like it's here. And I can tell that I did that part correctly if 1, 2, 3, this distance should be the same as this distance. So that is my amplitude, that distance between the minimum and the midline, and the maximum and the midline. So my amplitude is 3. My midline should be an equation because that's -2. My midline is the line y equals -2. The midline is your vertical shift. My midline got shifted down 2. So these two go together. All right, now in the practice, I've given you a specific equation to write, either sine or cosine. So you're going to have to find the phase shift. These are drawn up on my board as well. But in the graph of sine and cosine, sine will look like this, where that starting point is in the middle and it's on the y-axis. Cosine will look like this. All right, finding those wavelengths is also how you find the period. And something that came up in class, these dots that I'm putting in green, those are the halfway points through the period. So if you can't find a full wavelength, if you can find a halfway point, then you would just double it to finish figuring out the length of the full period. All right, so I'm telling you that this is the graph of cosine. So I want a y-axis to be on a maximum point. So the closest one to the y-axis as there right now is this one. So if I say that this is my new y-axis, that got shifted 1 unit to the right. All right, the period is the wavelength. So I typically go from maximum to maximum just because I think it's easier. So from 1 to 7, that gives me a period of 6. Now, the period itself is not in the equation. We have to use the period equals 2 pi over b. We have to use that formula. And I'm solving for b, so we can swap those and rearrange this so that b is equal to 2 pi over the period. So now I just have to plug in 6. So 2 pi over 6, I can reduce 2 over 6 to 1 over 3. So that would reduce to pi over 3. So that is what I'm going to be plugging in for the b in my equation. So my final equation that should say cosine. 3 cosine pi over 3. And because I do have that phase shift, that b should be on the outside of the parentheses, and my phase shift is right 1, so that will be -1. My vertical shift is down 2. If you want, you can simplify, like you can distribute the pi over 3. So 3 cosine pi over 3x minus pi over 3 minus 2 is also the same thing. All right, next one. my midline, this looks like my midline. Yeah, because my amplitude is 2. So my midline, y equals -3. My amplitude is 2. So my vertical shift is down 3 because they go together. And I'm telling you to use cosine. So again, cosine, the maximum is supposed to be on the y-axis. So this got shifted 1 unit to the right as well. And then I need to find the period. So again, I'm just going to use these two maximum points. From -3 to 1 is 4. So my period is 4. Again, I'm rearranging that formula. So I have b is equal to 2 pi over the period. So 2 pi over 4. 2 over 4 is 1/2. So that reduces to pi over 2. So my equation is 2 cosine pi over 2 on the outside of that parentheses -1 -3. All right, next one. Midline, -2. Y equals -2. So that is my vertical shift. My amplitude is 1. And I want this to be sine. So again, I'm just going to draw it here. Sine should start here, go up and then down. So I need to find that point. So I can find one here. See, if I go to trace this, that would be this hump right here, from the starting point to the maximum. So that point is supposed to be on the y-axis. So this got shifted 3 pi over 4 units to the right. All right, the period. So from -3 pi over 4 to 5 pi over 4, the way that you can figure out the distance in between these two is to subtract them. So I'm going to do 5 pi over 4 minus -3 pi over 4. And that will give me the distance in between those, which would be my period. Now that's the same as 5 pi over 4 plus 3 pi over 4. So 8 pi over 4. And 8 divided by 4 is 2, so that is the same as 2 pi. I'm solving for b, so I'm using this formula, 2 pi over the period. So I'm going to plug in 2 pi, and anything divided by itself is 1. So my equation, I don't really need to put the 1 in front. If your amplitude is 1, you don't have to put anything there. Sine. And again, I don't really need to put anything there. I don't know why I left the space there. I'm not going to put anything there because b is equal to 1. 3 pi over 4 minus 2. All right, the last one, they drew the midline in for me. So 1, 2, 3. So that is my vertical shift, up 3. My amplitude looks like it's 2. And I want this to be sine. So again, I'm looking for that curve. Now that curve is not particularly easy to find on this graph. So what I can do, so that I'm only using the part of the graph that I can actually see, is I can reflect this and instead of going up first and then down, I can reflect it so that it goes down first and then up. Because I can see that in this picture right here. Down first and then up. So that would be my starting point, which is 3 pi over 2. So 3 pi over 2 to the right. All right, the period is 6 pi. So B equals 2 pi over the period. Plug in 6 pi. So that reduces to 1 over 3. So my equation, 2 sine 1/3 x minus 3 pi over 2 plus 3. And because I did this reflection, I will have to put a negative in front. All right, the equations. My amplitude is 3. B is 2 pi over 3. There's no phase shift for this one because there's nothing in the parentheses with x. So B is equal to 2 pi over 3. The formula, my period, equals 2 pi over B. So I'm going to replace 2 pi divided by, I need to replace B with 2 pi over 3. This looks really messy. I got to clean this up. If you remember, like, keep, change, flip, I'm going to rewrite this as 2 pi divided by 2 pi over 3. Keep, change, flip, multiply by the reciprocal. So the 2 pi's will actually cancel out. So my period is 3. And you could probably see that. Look, it's 2 pi over B is the formula. And look out, see how it's already 2 pi over 3. So B is 3. And my vertical shift is that plus 2 at the end, up 2. And there's no phase shift because there's nothing in parentheses with the x. All right, next one, my amplitude. My amplitude is 1. This has also been reflected. Amplitude is always a positive number. My vertical shift is down 3. My B is equal to 4. So 2 pi over 4, that's going to reduce to pi over 2, so that's my period. And the phase shift, you cannot find the phase shift if B is in front of the x. You're going to have to divide and put that 4 on the outside of the parentheses. So this means I also have to do pi divided by 4. So my phase shift is left pi over 4. I will work out the next 2 examples and upload the answers to Google Classroom.